Good morning, guys, and as you can hear this time, this guide is in English, and the reason for that is I wanted to show off some light modifications, and for that I used some extensive packages, not just my own, but some extra packages, if you may. And I combined them into one package, which I think works very well. So we are currently located at Oslo Airport Gardermoen. This is XPlane 1130. It's plain default installation. I use this for testing most of the time, and installed in this default test is XVision with my own settings. These settings are not released yet, so because I'm still tweaking it, but hopefully one day it will be released. So we are in the default Beechcraft 58, standing on runway 19 right, and we are about to take off for a short flight around Oslo city, just to view this light combination package. The package consists of XVision, the latest version. I think it's 1.2 or something, and it contains my modification, the TK modification, light modification, and it includes the recently released XLight. And of course the package Norway Extended Lights. The developer of that package has released individual packages for each country of Europe, and it works very good with for example X-Europe package by Simhaven or something like that. So basically the only thing that is payware in this package is XVision, and frankly I'm not going to make a recommendation or not towards that package, because I'm not a huge fan of shader hacks, but in some cases it can work, and for that I am testing it and trying to make a personalized style to it. So hopefully it can work for some reasons. If we are going to oh shit, sound outside was pretty loud, so let's tone that down. So if we are to pan away from the airport, you can see the power of this combination. Let me just refocus. One thing I am not very fond of is it's the green tint in the lights. It kind of works. It blends with the terrain, but it doesn't do all that much to the overall light. Oh shit, there's a cell phone calling. Hopefully it will die down. Oh, just 1 second, I'll be back and turn that shit off. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. It was my morning wake-up call. Okay, so as I was saying, it's blending very good in the terrain, and also it provides lights to cities where it normally is a city. And of course, not every road has light, so it kind of blends way better than and that. And you'll see that when we're back in the air. But when it comes to the airport, it kind of blends very good. So if I were to zoom in to the airport, you can see that the lights, the spill lights on the ground, is actually very good, and it gives the airport white balance a pretty good overall look to it. So it kind of works, but of course it would be way better if you had, for example, a white look to the lights, or a bluish light. But again, it doesn't really matter all that much to me. So back in the plane, we are fully ready to go. So let's kick off the brakes and try to maintain center light as we are climbing out of Gardermoen. A little bit windy today, so hopefully we are going to take off like that. And we are lifting the brakes and trying to keep the nose on the center light. This is of course not a tutorial about flying and procedures and stuff like that. So this is just to show off some lights. Again, it's a little bit windy, so we're going to engage the autopilot when we are about 3,000–4,000 feet above, just to be able to see the lights from a extended view. And of course you have to excuse my English, it's not the best ability I got. It's not my native language, so also please bear with me for that. As we are climbing out of Gardermoen and of course trimming the airplane, you are now shortly starting to see how the lights are affecting the ground when it comes to light up cities, etc. This is the time is it's a bit past 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so the sun is setting, and of course we'll test this with some different lights. So we'll just keep this in a steady heading and activate the autopilot on heading to hopefully get some outside views. And this sound is pretty high, so let's turn that shit down. Yeah, that much better. So this is let's zoom out. X-Plane 11, and as you can see now, you have this green tint at the airport, but you can easily see the sequence flashing lights, or the the nickname for it. It's a running rabbit. And of course the highway, the main highway, is now in a much more natural light, especially for Norway. But as you can see, the airport is blending into the environment, and what I like about that is you can, from a distance, normally see the airport glowing like a bat out of hell. It's like somebody turn up the power and etc. But now it blends way better into the terrain, so it's not that difficult to see, and it kind of looks like an airport. I wish perhaps the green light were a bit more white, or a bit more tinted. So this is Oslo city. You can see it as the light comes brighter into view. This is a suburb to Oslo called Lillestrøm, and this is the main highway into the city. So we are now shortly turning towards the main city, and of course you now can see the power of XVision, which is currently applied. It's not a huge difference. You normally wouldn't, I think, notice it straight away. But I tried to make my style a little bit more close to X-plane default, but with some important corrections as to lights and blending of clouds, etc. So what I like about this package combination is that it's easy to see in the distance. You can surely notice cities and villages, and of course where the roads have lights and not, which makes this package extremely realistic. And of course the major cities are now close to real, I would say. It's not that I want to brag about my own product, but with my product in combination with some excellent other ideas or packages, like X and the new XLight, which can work very good, and of course the excellent package, the Extended Lights for Norway, and my modification, it looks very good. So let's get back into the cockpit and make that continuous turn to yeah, you can see this, it looks just gorgeous. Just zoom out a bit. Oh, we are also climbing, so let's stop that. Yeah, of course, if I just open that up, you can see now. You can see all the lights in into Oslo, and the city lights is now just blending with the terrain. You get all these dark patches where there are no lights, and of course you can also see the ocean as well. So all in all, I think this is a excellent package. And of course in the rural area, is that, yeah, hopefully that's how we pronounce it, rural or something like that. It's like a tongue twister, especially for us Norwegians. But anyway, I digress. As you can see, the lights are now blending into the terrain, and that just makes it look as stunning as it should. you'll notice also that the city lights, when you get up close and low, you also notice that this is just equally as good. And I'll show that when we are getting a little bit closer to the to downtown of Oslo. You can turn off the lights as well. So let's bank into the main city. This is downtown of Oslo and all the surrounding islands. A little bit more due west. And now you can for sure see the effect of the package. Industrial areas are also highlighted with a small green tint to it. That's mainly because of the airport, but when we are looking back at Gardermoen, Oslo Airport, we can now see it's way more blended into the ground. It's not that obvious with this blue XEon light as people are now using with XVision, and it tends to look yeah, like a party of LED lights. So I'm not very fond of that. But of course a bit more white would be just awesome, or a bit more blue, perhaps. I'm not sure. But if we are to pause the airplane here and just zoom into the city, we are shortly going to see the effect of the package up close. And I think this is where the package truly shine. Just wait and see when it gets up close. As you now can see, you get a beautiful up close, way more realistic light modification to explain. And of course, when you are flying helicopters close to the ground, you now see a more realistic light, of course. And this is just perfect, I think. I think this really represents how light should look in Explain. Of course, it has its ups and downs, and certain things are perhaps not optimum, or perhaps people have other preferences, but I think this is quite stunning actually. So if we are now just changing lights, you can also see how it looks when it gets a bit darker. As you can see, the lights are now clearly showing where the city is, highlighting the natural background of the city. And total darkness, you can actually navigate using VFR. You can see, if you have a map, you can see this is that one city, this is this village, and you can actually plan a better approach. So you can also see the lights on the aircraft are greenish tint. I am not that fan of it. I'm not that huge fan of green tints, but as I said, as a version 1 of XLight package, I think it's called, it now also works good, but it can be modified. If the airport had the same color as the main road, it would be just perfect with the green city, with the like a more yellow tinted city lights, and of course the package. So if we are now to zoom into morning, it's going to take a short amount of time. So here comes morning, and you now can see it is just perfect. This is of course the small tinted light. Doesn't affect me as much, but you can only wish. The sun is shortly rising, and of course you can see all the cities are just perfect aligned, combined. I'm sorry. Of course, you also have this tint around certain industrial areas as well. So come day, it just blends very good. So I think this is a good package to have. Of course, I need to tweak it, get permissions to include some of the other things, but hopefully in the end we'll have a good working package for the light. So just we're going to leave it there on pause, get back into the plane, of course tint it down a little bit so we have some lights, and of course we are now turning back to Gardermoen to see how this package work when we are getting close to the airport as well, because that's of course the important part, not just flying across major cities. So we are shortly heading back, and of course you can see all the cars. I'm not sure if you can, but I can. And of course all the major roads are highlighted in white, as it should be. The airport, as you can see, are blending very good. It has the green light, but I think I'm not sure how it looks from there in real life on night, but hopefully it's not that off. And of course, as from a distance, you now can see the flashing lights, the sequence flashing light as well. It of course makes for a beautiful approach. So let's keep descending, reduce thrust a little bit, and get back down to 3,000 feet for landing. It's a little bit windy today. You can see the gust is picking up in the airplane. The autopilot is handling it very good. Landing lights can now come on as we are approaching Gardermoen. And of course here you can see all the rural areas as well, so quite excellent actually. And of course all the cities in the distance as well. I think this is actually very good. So let's line up for the runway. There'll be a 013 course inbound for runway 01 left. And hopefully the landing will be acceptable. I'm not going to regard this flight as a tutorial or how to land smooth or be a perfect pilot. This is just to show off some lights, and hopefully we'll focus on that. As you get closer, you can also see that of course the flashing lights are essential to leading you into the runway. And of course you can see the green tint is getting more emphasized, and I'm not particularly liking that, but that's something that can be good. I also have this green tinted light in the cockpit, which I'm not very fond of. But with a light modification, it can actually work pretty good. So let's let's continue inbound runway 01 left. And as we are now slowly descending towards 3000 feet, we are manual landing for a visual approach. I'll just keep this on autopilot for now, because I want to look around. And of course you can see that the city lights are enhanced in the center of the city, so you get these bright spots in the center of the city, and I think that is a very good representation of how lights are actually in the real life. So we are shortly on final approach for runway 01 left. We are just turning a little bit to get back on final course. And we are now, as we are approaching, seeing the poppy lights. And normally when you're installing, for example, XVision or some light modification, or people are tweaking the shit out of these shaders, normally the poppy lights are or the airport lights have this halo around it, which makes for a very unrealistic rave party when you are approaching the airport, so to speak. Also the spill lights on the ground are very exaggerated, is it? Yeah, of course, increased, as I'm going to say. So now we are going to disconnect the AP, and we are just following the gentle descent into runway 01. As you can see now, the runway is pretty blended into the ground. It's still lighted, and we are of course a little bit high now, so we are descending on the poppy and aligning with the runway. So we are slowing down as our speed is way high, getting back on poppy and extending the flaps for landing. Hopefully this landing will be not crash and burn, as of course it doesn't normally is, but it's a little bit windy and a little bit gusty today, so let's keep 120 for now. We are on poppies and the sequence lights are coming, showing us the threshold. I think even as it's getting darker, it's quite good actually. Again, the green tint doesn't bother me as much, but I think it could be modified and tweaked for a better approach. So we're a little bit off to the right, and we'll just cycle back to the extended center line. And of course you can now see the running rabbit, which is pretty good. And we are way too high, so getting back on puppy, we are not needing that, but we are shortly coming into landing. Oh, gear is of course something we need, and should be a little bit wrong to land without gears and just touch down slightly on the ground. That was a close call. Of course, do your checks before landing. Of course, This is Gardermoen Airport. This is a default airport. It's straight out of Scenery Gateway, so it's not that realistic, but it works pretty darn good. So here comes the turn-off point for November, and we are shortly taxiing into the general aviation portion of the airport. And when we are shortly stopped here, we are Charlie 2, and we can stop right here, and of course get some external views on the airport. So I think this is a good package to have when it's done. Hopefully we'll get this working with, of course, the permission from the other developers. So thank you for watching and have a nice morning.